Joining us now, Jim McKelvey. Jim McKelvey is a candidate for Congress, Republican in the 5th District. This is Virginia's South Side. Current occupant of that seat, Robert Hurt, he is retiring. There are several candidates running right now for the Republican nomination. The top two right now, Senator Tom Garrett, who we have as the morning line favorite, and then closing in Jim McKelvey, who is with us now, who drives around in the McKelvey bus that we see all over the place. So he's certainly getting out there. This will be decided not in a primary, but this will be decided, and many of our listeners in Lynchburg are aware of this, but this will be decided in a District 5 convention, which will be May 14th at Nelson County High School. Jim, welcome.
Hi, how are you today?
Great, Jim. Now, my first question is the logistics of this nomination. It's going to be at a district convention, District 5 convention, May 14th at Nelson County High School. Now, can anybody registered voter show up for that, or do you have to be pre-filed?
You have to be pre-filed, and that has closed as of Tuesday. The last county to close was Fauquier County. So, yes, people can show up, but anyone who wants to vote, the date has passed. Okay,
so that date's passed. So now you're basically, delegates have pre-filed, those are the ones that are going to determine who the nominee is now, right? Because that's it. It's closed out.
Correct. Yes.
And as I understand it, there's no proxies, right? So if you can't make it, you can't make it.
Correct.
Okay, so, Jim, you ran against Robert Hurt 2010. You came in second, got what, like 28, 30%?
About 28%, yes.
Okay, I'm just going off memory.
Yeah, there was a field of 7, and at the time I entered 6 years ago, I did not have I had never been involved politically, didn't have a clue. I was the last to enter that race, and we had a good showing. I mean, Robert Hurt was the Republican establishment favorite, and
right.
He did well. He took 48% on that, but I had a good showing for second place. I was satisfied where I was at. Well, I wasn't satisfied, but we had a good showing, and now 6 years later, I found Robert's leaving, so here I am.
Now, in order to win, unlike a primary, which is a plurality, it's a majority, right? You've got to get 50% plus one. There's, 5 candidates in this race?
Correct. As of right now, there's 5, but still, they have until March 31st to pay. I'm sorry, I forget what they call it, but pay for the fee to run as a candidate.
Right. So there's 5 candidates now. There could be more if they decide to file now that all the delegates are in. So, but you have to get a majority so our audience understands it. So you go to the convention and everybody will make a speech and get their people out. And then they'll do a ballot. And if none of the candidates have 50% plus one, normally the bottom candidate is eliminated. And then it goes to a second ballot and so forth until somebody gets 50% plus one. That's the way it works, right?
Correct.
Okay. So you got to survive these ballots. By the way, this is how Rob Whitman won his nomination for Congress in the 1st District. There were like 10 candidates, and he was like 8th or 9th, and he's way down there on the first ballot. He barely survived the first ballot and then started moving up and eventually became the nominee. So that's how these things happen. So I'm going to get off procedure now, Jim, and let's go to some real issues because these are the things that at the end of the day is going to decide your race. The ISIS attack in Brussels the other day, sickening, so many people going to work just blown up, 39 now I think dead. If you were in Congress right now, what would be your approach to battling these attacks in Europe? Donald Trump, for instance, said, look, we need to let them figure it out. Others have said we need to step up our activity with NATO. What say you?
Well, I think, and again, we're talking about Europe, and again, there's only so much help we can aid them with over in Europe. But for me, the very first step that I would take is in this country, which is number one, close the borders. I said it 6 years ago. I'll say it today. I'm a contractor. Put me down there. I'll get the wall done ahead of schedule and below budget. Seal the borders. We are not a sovereign nation until we seal them. But then second, I would put a temporary ban on legal immigration. And the reason for that is our immigration system is broken. We're spending $200 billion on illegals. 57% of legal immigrants are on the government dole. 40% of visa holders, we don't know where they're at. And I tell people, help me if I'm wrong here, but we keep talking about Syria. But didn't the 9/11 terrorists come from Saudi Arabia?
Yes.
So we closed immigration back in the 30s to the 60s because of issues we were having with illegal immigrants coming in. So for me, the system is broken. As a businessman, if it's broken, you shut it down, you fix it. At the same time, I want to know every individual that's in this country. And until we accomplish those two things, I would not entertain opening immigration again.
So if you were in Congress, so that I understand this, Jim McKelvey, you would be in favor of a temporary restriction on all immigrants coming into the United States from the Middle East?
No. I say the system overall.
Everybody.
I would shut the whole system down. I would not have any more legal immigration coming into this country until the system is fixed. I mean, you're talking about just the Middle East, but I think constitutionally too, you would have to just shut the system down in total.
Just shut the system
so you're
down.
Talking about legal immigration
the last time
from
we
South
actually,
America, Mexico, Canada, wherever they're coming from.
Jim, the last time we actually did that, I believe Calvin Coolidge did that in 1927 or 23, I believe. He just shut the whole thing down and said, you know what, we're going to just wait for a while. And so we didn't take any immigrants in for a while. So if we could do it in the 1920s, we can certainly do it now, right?
Well, yes, and again, we're not shutting it down for kicks. We're shutting it down because the system is broken. Mm-hmm. How is it that legal immigrants, I thought that they were supposed to come, if legal immigrants were coming to this country, they're supposed to go to a host family. Why is it that 50% of legal immigrants are on the government dole? I don't understand this. So, again, that's why, as I said, for me, I'm a businessman. For me, it's the private sector that's going to fix the government, not the public sector. We've let the public sector run for years and years and years. They're not getting it done. Government is a business. The system is broken. Shut it down, fix it, then we can look at opening up again.
President Obama, earlier in the week, Jim, went to Cuba to normalize relations with the Cubans. Raul Castro didn't meet him at the airport when he got off the plane and then proceeded to chastise and lecture the President of the United States, President Obama, on America's human rights record. How do you stand on this?
Our president is a fool. I just got up this morning, turned on Fox News, and watched him and his wife practicing the tango. I guess they're in Argentina.
Yes.
We are being run by our commander-in-chief is a fool. I'll tell you what I told people, whether it be Trump or Cruz, I'm gonna do the jig come January when we get a new president in there, and I'll take either of those gentlemen. I'm fifth district chair for co-chair for Trump, along with Virgil Goode, but I'll take either of those gentlemen. I think we got two fantastic candidates for president.
So, if you were in Congress, would you, if it came up, would you vote in favor of continuing to normalize relations with Cuba, and would you be in favor of ending all trade embargoes with them that we have?
No, absolutely
Why?
not. I'd leave everything where it's at and reassess where we stand with Cuba.
Why?
No, I would not. I would leave everything that we have in place.
What about the prison in Guantanamo Bay, Gitmo, coming under fire? Administration officials now saying that ISIS is utilizing that as a recruiting tool, and many in Congress saying that should be closed and those prisoners simply transferred to Indiana or some other U.S. prison. How do you stand on that?
It's BS. It stays open. Period.
Why?
Why? Because I do not want these terrorists in my country. It serves a function, and it is not it's not a tool for the terrorists. Good Lord, I question anything that Obama has been behind. Every move this individual has made has been a detriment to this country. For me, leave it open.
Stick with foreign policy here for a second, Jim. Whoever the next president is, we're going to have to deal with ISIS, whether it's Clinton, Sanders, Trump, Cruz, whomever. Some president is going to likely go to Congress with an authorization for military involvement, AUMF, and they're going to ask for some number of troops to go to the Middle East to go to fight ISIS. 20,000, 30,000, 10,000, 100,000. There's going to be some number. If you were in Congress, would you look favorably at that or not?
I would absolutely look favorable at increasing our involvement, yes. But at the same time, we do need to look at the other participating countries over in the Middle East to work with us, and that also means boots on the ground from these other countries. I mean, I just wouldn't give a blanket waiver and say, sure, U.S. will take care of this. No. But I'm sure that the commander-in-chief, which will be a Republican, will be able to work with the other countries in the Middle East to participate in
well,
getting
look,
this.
Jim, that's what everybody says, but there's no magical Arab army that pops up out of the earth, or the sand. We've been talking about this forever. They don't exist. So if a president went in with an authorization for war and said, I need 100,000 U.S. troops to go to ISIS and wipe them out, would you be open to that?
Unilaterally?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
I don't think I just don't see that happening unilaterally. I really don't. But yeah, I'm absolutely steps need to be taken. Absolutely. But again, I don't see that happen unilaterally. I mean, last time we went to war in Iraq, what do we have? 137 nations participating. Mm-hmm. So I just don't see that happening unilaterally. But yes, I would absolutely support taking a greater additional action against what's going on with ISIS.
Jim, Ted Cruz the other day called for the monitoring and surveilling of neighborhoods that have a high propensity of Muslims in the United States. It's come under fire by a lot of people. Is he right or is he wrong?
Oh, was he right or was he? I think it was taken out of context. It was just, again, when you look at Mayor Giuliani and what they were doing when they were talking about patrolling, they weren't talking about patrolling the streets, but going to these the mosques that were suspected of terrorist activity, getting police into those mosques to monitor. And I'm sure that's what Cruz was talking about.
All right, final question I want to get to domestic and jobs, the Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership Act, TPP. Many Republicans in favor of this, Robert Hurt being one of them. If you were in Congress and you're going to have an up or down vote, yes or no, on TPP, how would Jim McKelvey come down on that?
No.
Why?
Because there hasn't been a trade deal yet that we've signed on to that hasn't been a detriment to this country. We need somebody in the Oval Office that knows how to negotiate deals. So I would absolutely vote that down, and I would have our next president renegotiate.
All right. We're just about out of time. Hey, Jim, what's your website?
My website is McKelveyforcongress.org.
McKelvey, that's McKelvey, McKelveyforcongress.org. And Jim, you ride around in your McKelvey for Congress. I don't know what that is. It's a big thing. What is it? Is that an RV or a bus? What is that?
I call it the bus, but it's an RV.
That thing is
huge.
It
my mobile billboard.
It is all over the place. We're out of time. I want to thank Jim McKelvey for being with us again, congressional candidate, 5th District. Thanks, Jim.
Well, thank you very much. You have a good day now.